Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning for our webinar. We're talking about increasing productivity with remote users. If at any time you have any questions during our webinar, please feel free to type those into the GoToMeeting control panel. If we're going to be getting to those questions at some time during the webinar, I'll hold off answering them as the questions will be answered when we get to them. Any other specific questions we can answer at the end, or we can answer those offline afterwards. So again, thanks for attending, and let's get started. So what we're going to talk about today is what is a VPN and why do I need it? It's a common question we get from agencies all the time, and we'll talk about how that can help not only stabilize but secure your remote office connections and working from home and wherever you may be. We'll talk about options for individuals to work remotely, whether that be a producer taking a laptop on the road, part-time employees, working from home, or whatever other cases there might be. We'll then talk about remote offices, some best practices for maintaining remote offices with 1, 2, or 50 users. We'll get into mobile phones, as they're a hot topic nowadays. Most agencies have at least a couple of people with the new smartphones that you can do email with, but then also manage your calendar and then do lots of other things. And then we'll leave you with some tools, tips, and tricks for the day. I'm going to talk about a lot of things throughout the seminar, so we'll give you some specific information about some of the tools that we've seen out there that we find helpful, and then some things like different settings and configurations to help make your working remotely as smooth as possible. So starting off, what is a VPN and why do I need it? You may have heard that term from time to time, and sometimes it's confused with different types of connections. So a VPN, what it is it's a technology that makes you part of the network you're connecting to as if you were sitting in that office. So say you're sitting at home and you make a VPN connection, that's making you at home essentially be part of the main office. Same as if you were working at a remote office itself. It would be like the two offices are, all in the same space, connected to the same network. A couple different ways a VPN can work is with a VPN software program. The most common one we see is the Cisco VPN client. And again, that's a piece of software that will just connect that one computer it's being ran from to the remote office. There's of course VPN hardware too, which is most commonly your firewall is your VPN hardware as well, and that does the same thing as the VPN software. The benefits of that though is that it keeps you connected all the time. And the way a VPN works is, look at it like it creates a tunnel across the internet connecting you or your remote office to the main office, and all the information that you're passing or that you're accessing goes through that tunnel. So what that's doing is that's protecting you from all that bad stuff out there on the internet. The tunnel's also encrypted at a very high level, so even if any hackers were to somehow intercept that transmission, it's very hard for them to be able to unscramble and decode what's actually happening there. So the VPN is stabilizes your connection so it's constant, but also makes it very, very secure. So when you're connecting to an office PC, you've got quite a few different options. The most common option is using something called a remote desktop connection, or what I'll refer to a lot in the seminar as RDP, which is the remote desktop protocol. It's kind of this technology, how this thing works. And lots of different Windows systems can work with this RDP connection. It can work on 2000 server, Windows XP desktops, 2003 servers, Windows Vista desktops, and of course the new Windows 2008 servers as well. And for those of you who don't know, a remote desktop connection, it basically makes it look like you're working on that XP or Vista or server computer, just as if you were sitting there. The only downside to that, though, is that when you're connecting to a workstation, workstations can only have one person logged into them and working at the exact same time, so someone can't be using that workstation at the main office while you're connected to it. If you connect to it remotely, it will log off at the main office and making it look like there's the computer is just locked. There are also a lot of freeware or paid remote access programs and services out there. Some of those that I'll get into later. And usually the way they work is, a little program installed on your computer that you're connecting from. The same program connecting, sometimes to the workstation that you're connecting to. And a lot of them work right through right through a website. So you log in and you can see your computer and make the connection through there. So a common question we get is, should I be using a VPN or should I just use RDP? And our answer is yes. You want to use both for the most stable and secure connection. So what you would do is, make your VPN connection to your office, which is then, again, remember, connecting you to your office like you're there. So then all the communication you're doing is inter-office. And then through that VPN tunnel, that inter-office communication, then you make your RDP connection to your computer or your server, whatever you're connecting to. The benefit of doing that way is, if you just want to do RDP without a VPN, you have to allow that traffic to pass through your firewall. Anytime you have to allow traffic to pass through your firewall, you have to open a hole in your firewall. And the more holes open, the more chances that hackers will at least try and, if not succeed, of getting through it. So the VPN allows for no extra holes open in your firewall, making that secure connection even more secure. So again, to that answer, do I want to do a VPN or RDP? And the answer is both. So let's get into some specifics then. What are some options for remote individuals to work? And this could be the producer who takes the laptop on the road again. It could be a person, sitting at a Panera Bread or a Starbucks, just working on their lunch or before the office is starting. Or it could be your, part-time employees just trying to access the office. The managers going home at night trying to get some work done. So some things to consider when you're talking about working remotely. One of them is printing. Some of the remote access programs allow printing to work automatically in the same way that RDP allows it to work. And what that does is anytime you have a printer installed on your computer and you remote into your office computer will have your local printer there as an option to print to. So basically what happens is, if you print that certificate of insurance, it's going to go from the office computer back through your VPN tunnel to your computer and then come out your printer. But the nice thing about it is it makes it look all transparent, not a lot of setup required in that instance, except for the printer being installed on both computers. One thing to remember though is that MFPs or multifunction printers, which are the all-in-ones that a lot of people have, the devices that have a printer, a scanner, and faxing built all in together. They're great units. They're usually very convenient, usually pretty inexpensive, but the extra features aren't typically going to work over your remote connection, just printing. But if you're using the RDP, which is the solution built into almost all the Microsoft operating systems, even the printing on those printers typically isn't going to work. Because HP and Lexmark and Canon and all those different companies, because there's so many different functions in those units, they have to make the software for them a little differently. It's not just like a normal printer driver software. So typically those aren't going to work. HP actually has come right out and said that they don't even recommend trying an MFP for a remote office because, again, it just doesn't work very well. So the best solution for individuals working remotely is, a small personal LaserJet. Most typically is to use HPs. I know some past model numbers out there, because they're always changing, are like a 1015, a 1020, but the small personal HP LaserJets, and they can be purchased for, little as a couple to a few $100s. A good email option for remote workers is Outlook Web Access. Now, those of you not familiar with Outlook Web Access and the way it works,